Hi everyone, Claire Fluffle here, and, excuse me, Hi everyone, Claire Fluffle here with another installment of the Kirby soundtrack rankings. We're getting the next game lined up, and just look at these wonderful weather condition. A nicely pressed like button, notification bells ringing to be notified whenever I upload. We could use some comments with your thoughts on the music for Dream Course, as well as the game that you think I'm going to be ranking next, but that aside, this is the best you could ask for. When we're done here, I could even suggest going to my Patreon if you want cool perks such as seeing videos like this one 2 full days early, and if you're a head-patting Fluffle fan like Biohazard, Dips Fiora, or Miss K says eat your veggies, you get a special message in each video. That message being, thank you guys so much for your support, I love you! Alright, Claire golf full mode aside, let's talk about the music for Kirby's Dream Course, which, to nobody's surprise, I think is really good. The double-edged sword of Dream Course is that, compared to Dreamland 2, I don't have as many issues. And that's only a double-edged sword because I'm gonna need to think about how I'm gonna draw this video out. Well, we'll figure that out as we go. For starters, just like the game itself, I love the title screen music. What a groove, so upbeat and fun. Dream Course is one of the trickier Kirby games out there, but like any other Kirby game, it still finds ways to put you in a great mood. Me personally though, I am a big fan of the icon creation music. It's a little weird, but I don't know, I can't help myself but bounce when this plays. It's so simple, but so bouncy, like literal bouncy, not the style of music. I can't think of another way to describe it, but I like it a lot. You know what, actually, I think bouncy is a great way to describe the highs of this soundtrack. And again, I quite literally mean I can't help but bounce up and down when I hear it. This remix of Yogurt Yard, for example, always gets me like this, if only because when playing the actual game, Kirby jumps off the Warp Star and lands on the ground in sync with the music. Really watch. So much fun. Despite its bounciness though, this isn't quite what I would call a high-energy soundtrack. I think one of the nicest things about it is that, given this is a golf game, the music is much more subdued. You got a lot more tracks like Iceberg Ocean that, while still sound like they came from a Kirby game, aren't nearly as in-your-face with the high energy. It's a breath of fresh air compared to most of the other soundtracks. Now, I'm not saying that Kirby music being high energy is a bad thing, far from it. If anything, I feel the opposite, but variety is the spice of life, and if you can still pinpoint that Kirby feeling, I think you're in a good place. And it's not like Dream Course is devoid of fun or anything. The music in the very first course of the game is some of the most jovial golf music I've ever heard. That Yogurt Yard remix, again, literally makes me bounce, and the music that plays during the final hole of any given course builds and builds with energy as it goes on. It being the final hole and all, this makes sense. I talked last time about how Dark Castle felt climactic, and this feels kinda similar, but with much more excitement, energy, and positivity especially, compared to the intimidation from Dreamland 2. I like it a lot. But if we're talking high energy bops, you know there's that one character never gonna let you down. That's our favorite king, Da-da-da, da-da-da, whatever you want to call him. He's actually kind of got 2 tracks in this game, the pre-fight music and the actual boss fight itself. And while the pre-fight rules, I like it more than I probably should, the actual boss fight theme is definitely my favorite track in the entire game. It sounds nothing like the day-to-day theme we're used to, and if anything, it sounds catastrophic almost. Like if the end of the world was coming, but it was being treated as something much less serious than it actually was. This is the kind of music that I'd expect. And it's all for a boss fight and a random Kirby spin-off. Yeah, you're right. That actually tracks. Fair point. But having talked about my favorite thing about the soundtrack, I suppose now would be when we get into the negatives. Really, I don't have very many. Again, this isn't quite as interesting, quote unquote, as Dreamland 2, but if I had to give a big negative, it's again relating to the music not being quite as energetic as other games. I think it really works in the context of this game, works in its favor, but it also leaves the soundtrack sounding a bit dry sometimes. If the music isn't super good, for example, it winds up sounding a bit more on the slow, teetering on boring side. And when comparing this to other soundtracks, I think it makes Dream Chorus stand out a bit. I wouldn't call the music fodder or anything. These tracks have enough of a melody to just kind of be forgettable at worst, like this one. Again, not bad, but these don't really stick out, at least to me. I've said this a few times so far, but to reiterate, you really don't get more subjective than music, so if you disagree, I get it, but this being more of a golf-sounding soundtrack than a Kirby soundtrack is in full effect here. Despite its highs, I oftentimes don't remember what the music in this game sounds like, or, again, the forgettable ones. I'm not that short-term memory. What were we talking about? It took a couple of re-listens to the entire thing, as well as having to play Toy Box, good lord, which finally got me to get a concrete ranking for this one. And that's pretty bad. Everything else I had decided in 1 or 2 listens, aside from the top 10-ish, but that's just because, oh my god, that was so hard, they're all so good! But this one, so many of the tracks just didn't stick, and that's kind of an issue. It's made up for by the ones that do. They're fantastic, and again, Day-to-Day's theme in this game, despite being so different, honestly one of my favorite themes of his, no lie. If this ranking was just talking about the highs, well, I mean, I guess all of the soundtracks would have crazy high highs, so there wouldn't be much of a difference, but I wouldn't be giving any of these complaints, that's my point. Overall, Dream Chorus is kind of a mixed bag. Not the game itself, the game I adore, but the music ranges from forgettable at worst to amazing at best. It's a soundtrack I really like overall, but I think I dig its vibes more than I actually like it. I can imagine actually listening to this while watching golf. I play a pretty chaotic game of mini golf myself, as I'm assuming you'd all expect, so it wouldn't quite fit that. And golf itself, while still a sport, is one of the more lax ones, so this really fits. And it fits because it's relaxing while still having that Kirby energy that we know and love. Too much of it is forgettable for me personally, and even if I do kinda like some of the tracks I struggle to remember, I shouldn't have to listen to this soundtrack 3 to 5 times more than every other soundtrack that I had to listen to recollect enough of it to form an opinion on it. But that's another game down. We're already 12 deep, and there's still 27 to go. Well, we'll get there eventually. If you have any predictions for what the next game we'll be talking about for Kirby Month, again, please let me know in the comments. I love reading predictions, right or wrong, and I am just so curious to see which of the ones that you think are going to be super low, but it turns out I rank them super high, or vice versa. Also, please tell me what you think about Dream Course's soundtrack in general. Just because one puppy girl thinks it ranks 28th in the echelons of Kirby music doesn't mean that's where everyone should rank it after all. With that, I've got like 8 million more videos to make, so I've been Claire, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you around. Bye!